very brief opening ceremony. Without further ado, I invite the Parliamentary Secretary of Tourism and Sports to present opening remarks.
I would like to adopt the protocol that has been established and extend a warm and willing welcome to the representatives of the OECS Secretariat, Dr. Lorraine Nicholas, I will put your name, Natasha Netherville, who is smiling today, contrary to our last trip in Anguilla, where she was stressed over the temporary absence of her minister. So it's good to see the group of Anguillians smile today. Mrs. Diane McIntyre Pike, the Community Tourism Specialist, and to you, the delegates at this national consultation on community-based niche tourism products. This consultation couldn't be more timely. It comes at a time when we are entering the implementation stage of the Sustainable Tourism Master Plan. And when for the first time in Anguilla, a project management unit has been established at the ministry. The Sustainable Tourism Master Plan has divided the island into 3 development areas: the East End, the West End, and the Central Tourism Development Area. And while it is divided into those tourism development areas, let it be known that Anguilla and Anguillas are united. It is in each tourism development area, a mix of tourism products, activities, attractions have been conceived. This approach makes it easy to target and establish community groups which are either involved or those that can become involved in community-based niche tourism product development. Community-based tourism has made a significant contribution to the tourism economies worldwide. Here in the Caribbean, excellent examples exist in Jamaica in a network established by Mrs. McIntyre Pike, who will lend her expertise to us here today. In Dominica, at the recreation of a Carib village. In Trinidad, where a community group has organized itself into an NGO to develop a turtle watching project that attracts hundreds of tourists each year and recently gained international recognition. It is well known that we have perhaps more turtles than most destinations in the Caribbean. So that too is a possibility for us. Many examples also exist in Spanish-speaking Caribbean. The tourism products created by the communities range from craft production projects, nature tourism products, special events and cultural expressions with their emphasis on food, music and dance, and indigenous lifestyles. Anguilla already has a few examples and a lot of potential yet to be developed. Anguillians are resourceful, talented, ambitious, and energetic. And we are used to making use of little or nothing and turning it into something very impressive. This workshop will serve as a breeding ground for new ideas and initiatives. And I look forward to these becoming a reality in the not-too-distant future. In closing, I declare this workshop open, and I wish you all a very successful consultation.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes, for those timely remarks. The PS responsible for economic development, investment, commerce, and tourism, Mr. Foster Rogers, will offer closing remarks.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Gina. I think we just had a record in Anguilla for the shortest open ceremony in history. And sometimes that's not a very bad thing because we can certainly get on with the business of the day. Let me now put a protocol established earlier by Mr. Hughes, members of OECS Secretariat today, and also Ms. Marguerite McIntyre. Mouthful. But certainly it's an impressive name. I recall the other day to her earlier that during my days at the meeting, there was Alistair McIntyre, who was the Vice Chancellor of non-district, and she just told me that is a cousin. So certainly the Caribbean is one close-knit family. I often tell people, your residence in the Caribbean as a black person depends on which ship you jump off from during triangle trading. So we certainly have relatives all over the Caribbean. Let me welcome as well members of the community who are here today from different organizations, from the community, from the Hotel Tourist Association, the Tourist Board, from Community College, and certainly from the community in general. Angola is a very interesting place, I say that myself. We have so many products that are yet untapped. Recently, we have done an inventory of the 3 different tourism development areas, and it's amazing what we found. In fact, I see Mary here today. Yes, Mary. And there are many of us who, as we go through today, will certainly bring up some of the intricate parts of Angola history. We'll bring up some very interesting stuff that we have hidden in our bushes. We'll bring up some of the interesting sites that we still have not even explored. And all of these aspects can come together in one unified, and use the word unified, one unified tourism product. We also have some tourism products that are still on the ground stage. Certainly, if you mention some of the village festival in Welches, that has a certain mystique, a certain level of potential to develop something grand. There are many people who do not know much about confungi. There are many people who know much about flower pack. There are people who know much about doing these things. People like me, who sort of know more about than some of the younger people. But the village festival in Welches has a potential to not only develop into an Angola festival, but a regional festival. I see Willie smiling because his family is involved in that quite a bit. And then there's the Festival del Mar. This is something that has grown out of the community in the harbor, the love for the sea, the love for fish. The Festival del Mar, as we know it now, has a potential not only regional but an international event. And it's already there. We see the impact it has on our tourism arrivals. We see the impact it has on not only people coming in, but Angolans ourselves getting out of the house for the weekend and enjoy the Festival in Alabama. So there are many, many more things like this. There are sport and these things, the Festival del Mar and certainly the Welches Village Fest, were not things that were mandated by the government of Angola. These were not projects that came out of some high-level discussion on the STLP. These are products, and I think they were driven from the bottom, from the community. And we can see the success of this. And it certainly adds a good mix to the other tourism products we have. The Viceroys, certainly the Macaron is coming back up, the Catalikas, Cuisinas, and so forth. So when you mix that sort of traditional tourism with the community tourism, I think we have a product that certainly we can be proud of. So I think today is a base for moving forward in that vein. And certainly I want to thank OECS for funding it. I want to thank myself for being here. I'd like to thank certainly all of you for agreeing to host our event here today. And certainly I want to thank the participants for coming. And I hope we have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Program Officer Tourism at the OECS Secretariat, Lorraine Nicholas, PhD, will give an overview, the background, and the objectives which will set the stage for today's consultation. Dr. Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brooks. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Investment, Commerce and Tourism, Mr. Rogers. Other officials from the Ministry of Tourism, distinguished brothers and sisters from Anguilla, good morning to you. It really is a pleasure for me to be back here in Anguilla, having recently convened the 11th meeting of the OECS Council of Tourism Ministers here in April. I think starting now to feel like a belonger, I hope you don't mind. And I also want at this point to say thank you to the staff of the Ministry of Tourism who has given tremendous assistance to the OECS Secretariat for coordinating this meeting. I think you are one of the best in the OECS for that, and I want to thank you very much for this. Even though Anguilla is an affiliate member of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, I think most persons here should be aware that the OECS established an economic union in 2011. And since then, in the OECS, we have been pretty much preoccupied at the Secretariat, as well as our member states, with operationalizing this economic union by basically implementing the various provisions and obligations stipulated in the revised Treaty of Bastille. Now, this treaty is essentially what we could call the Bible of the Economic Union, because what it does is that it tells us what we need to do in a number of sectors, in tourism, in agriculture, in manufacturing, in construction, environment, health, education, what we need to do to make this economic union function, to make it work, to make it function effectively. And Article 21 in this treaty is applicable to the tourism sector. And what it states is that OECS member states will work towards the progressive harmonization of tourism policies and will ultimately adopt a common policy for tourism in the OECS. Now, when I went through the treaty and I saw that this is what we need to do for tourism, immediately I had just returned from a training in Singapore that was sponsored by the Commonwealth Secretariat, and I immediately approached them to assist us in developing this policy. They approved this proposal and we developed this policy in 2011. We are now in the process of implementing this policy, and it involves a number of different initiatives which include establishing a mechanism for joint tourism in the OECS and establishing modalities for greater community participation in tourism in the OECS. So what we're doing here is not something that we have just decided to do. It is something that is enshrined in the treaty. And so OECS member states are obligated by treaty to comply with establishing modalities for greater community participation in tourism. So as I said, we developed this common tourism policy for the OECS, and this was done via extensive participation and consultation with both the private and the public sector. In Anguilla, we had participation, we had 2 regional workshops, and we had participation and representation from Anguilla for both the private sector. Ms. Gilda Gums, who is there, attended the meetings in St. Lucia and in Antigua. We also have Chantel, who is here, who attended the meeting in Antigua. Candice Niles also attended the meeting in St. Lucia. So there was extensive consultation when we developed this policy. And basically, what this policy does is that it highlights the various priority areas that OECS member states believe we should focus on with a view to improving the competitiveness of tourism in the OECS. And a number of these priority areas are very applicable to this exercise. Product development. The recommendation is that the OECS Secretariat will work with member states to explore opportunities for joint product development in key niche products where there is both market demand and commercial logic. Sectoral linkages, that the OECS will seek to promote cross-sectoral linkages and identify opportunities to link the tourism sector with other economic sectors. Community participation is another priority area to ensure that local communities are in the best possible position to benefit economically and socially from the further development of the tourism sector. We also conducted another study in the OECS, and the purpose was basically to identify and assess the feasibility of developing a joint marketing strategy for tourism in the OECS. And the findings of this study basically suggested that while respondents were not in favor of us developing the OECS and promoting the OECS under a single tourism brand, because they thought that we already have a Caribbean brand and that it might be confusing in the marketplace to have another OECS brand. But what they did agree upon was that a joint marketing strategy will support the development of niche tourism products in the OECS, and that there are clear opportunities to promote a range of tourist experiences that will provide more attractions and options for visitors. And these are just some of the comments of respondents, that we should present a niche marketing platform including eco, soft adventure tourism, scuba diving, culinary special events to different consumer groups. We also have a number of ministerial mandates that are very relevant to what we are doing. In 2010, the OECS Ministers of Tourism expressed very keen interest in the joint development of tourism products. And so they mandated the OECS Secretariat to identify a few major areas with potential for a collective approach to product development and to explore opportunities to package these products jointly. And so in response to this mandate, I developed a paper highlighting opportunities for joint product development in the OECS. And these areas included events. You had a number of events happening in the OECS around the same time, like Carnival in St. Lucia, in Antigua, in St. Vincent happening around the same time. Heritage tourism. You have a number of OECS member states, 3 of them with heritage sites, sports tourism, etc. And so I presented it to the ministers at their 9th meeting, which was held in St. Lucia in 2010. And they approved the niche areas identified as having potential for pursuit of a joint or a collective approach to tourism development in the OECS. I also wanted to just highlight the vision for tourism in the OECS. It is that we will develop a tourism sector that is economically viable, that is resilient, that is internationally competitive and sustainable via synergies and collaboration, whilst improving the quality of life of citizens of the OECS. Now this is very important, this last line. Improving the quality of life of OECS citizens, because very often we focus very much on tourism as an end in itself rather than a means to an end. So we focus on bringing tourists to our islands, and when they get there, we measure the performance of the sector by the increase in the number of tourists. But we need to go beyond this and look at tourism as a means to an end. Tourism should be used as a vehicle to achieve other things, to contribute to improving the livelihoods of our people, to contribute to reducing poverty, to contribute to reducing unemployment. And so bearing all of this background information in mind, the objectives of this exercise are first and foremost to enhance local community participation in tourism in the OECS by increasing or fostering greater local ownership in the sector and empowering local residents to benefit more directly from the tourism sector. We are also seeking to diversify the product a bit more. We know that we cannot run away from our image as sun, sea, and sand, but we need to do other things in order to attract different types of tourists. We also are looking to basically link the various components of the tourism value chain by fostering linkages between tourism and other sectors, and we are seeking to meet the increasing demands of tourists. Tourists today are no longer looking to just lay on a beach all day in the sun. They are seeking authentic, enriching, engaging, entertaining, educational experiences, and we need to be in a position to offer these. At the regional level, we are also seeking to promote the concept of multi-destination travel, basically allowing visitors to experience what the different islands have to offer, because now we are seeking to promote another 3 S's in the OECS, not sun, sea, and sand, but a single shared space for tourism in the OECS. Now, multi-destination tourism is something we've been talking a lot about, but it has not worked effectively for a number of factors, and we know the constraints: the cost of travel through the region, the lack of ease of travel through the region. And we are currently working on that in our tourism work program, addressing those factors. And currently, this exercise relates to the product development aspect of multi-destination tourism. Basically, ensuring that we can package attractive products for the visitors to enjoy as they move throughout the region. So, finally, this project, I want to say, is part of a wider project in the OECS that is called the Economic Integration and Trade of the OECS project. It is funded by the European Commission. We have a total budget for the entire project of 8.6 million euros, and the tourism component is 2.7 million euros. 2 million out of that 2.7, as Professor would know. Professor, are you sleeping?
I'm listening carefully.
Would be to develop this network of excellence for tourism and hospitality training and education in the OECS, which we are working closely with the community colleges in the region. So 2 million out of that 2.7 million is to do this, and the other 700,000 euros is to do other mainstream tourism activities, of which this one is part of. So we are currently implementing what we call the first program estimate. And one of the activities is to have national consultations to develop community-based niche products, which is what we are doing here. And the other element of this activity is to support communities that are ready to develop niche tourism products. And so the objective of this workshop is to identify existing as well as potential opportunities to develop community-based niche products, and also to identify opportunities to assist communities that are ready to develop these community-based tourism products. So we are currently conducting these national consultations. We started on June 4th. We have done it in St. Lucia, Grenada. Last week we were in Dominica and St. Vincent. We're in Anguilla today. Tomorrow we go to Montserrat. Next week we do St. Kitts and Antigua. And if you look in your folders, you would see that we have a criteria for the assistance. So basically, if you believe that you have a community-based initiative that you would like assistance for, and if you believe that you meet this criteria, then you would be invited to, you are free to submit your proposal. We have a template for the proposal, which we have not shared because we are waiting for all of the member states to have their consultations. Because it wouldn't be fair to send it out and persons are already submitting once we have not done all the consultations in all the member states. So once we have completed the consultations on July 12th, although the BVI, we're not sure too much about when exactly we're going to do it, but hopefully after July 12th, we could share the template with your ministries and you could submit your proposals then. And we will review the proposals in August and hopefully start assisting communities directly around September, October, thereabouts.
And well established internationally as the pioneer of community tourism. She studied hotel management and catering operations and tourism management in the UK and Germany and Jamaica, and holds 2 diplomas in hotel management, catering operations, certificate in environmental management, and Bachelor of Science degree in hospitality management with vast management experience in hotel operations and community tourism in Europe and in the Caribbean. She's the president, founder of the Country Style Community Tourism Network Villages as Businesses program and the International Institute for Peace through Tourism Caribbean, the first chapter outside the USA of the International Institute of Peace through Tourism and coordinator of the International Institute of Peace through Tourism International Community Tourism Network, which involves over 70 countries. She's chairman consultant of the National Best Community Competition and Program Jamaica and vice president of the National Association of Jamaicans and Supportive Organizations Jamaica. In the same way that Mrs. McIntyre Pike's experience spans 4+ decades, her experience is wide-ranging. Her many areas of expertise include marketing, public relations, hotel and catering, training and development of personnel in sustainable community tourism. In Jamaica and the Caribbean region, she has trained and developed several communities in self-development, including etiquette, environment, and general knowledge on a voluntary and professional basis, and is a full-time community tourism consultant trainer. Mrs. McIntyre Pike has received many accolades at home and abroad for her pioneering work in community tourism. At present, she is implementing the country-style villages as businesses in Jamaica and internationally, including the Caribbean, South Africa, in partnership with the National Best Community Foundation, Jamaica. I now invite Mrs. Diana McIntyre Pike, Community Tourism Specialist, to present on the role of niche products in community-based tourism. Mrs. McIntyre Pike.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be back in Anguilla, my second or third, I can't exactly remember. But I just wanted to mention before I go into the formal presentation that I was a chairman of the Small Hotels Committee for the Caribbean Hotel Association for 8 years, and Mr. Clyde Carty was our representative on that committee from the Mariners Hotel. So I'm sure you know long ago. He was a very, very eloquent representative. And we have persons here who are Nicholas and Mrs. Kubish. It was nice to see you again. It's been a long time, but you still look young. And I'd like to greet our Parliamentary Secretary for the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Hughes. Very nice to meet you, sir. And Mr. Foster Rogers, the PS from Economic Development, Investment, Commerce and Tourism, and of course my colleague, friend, and partner, Dr. Lorraine Nicholas from the OUCS, who has made this presentation possible. To start off by saying that I'm here as a passionate Caribbean person, passionate person for community tourism, which is a mindset change that we're promoting. And this flower represents the roots of community tourism. We have now endorsed this as our community tourism flower to show that it has bloomed, because everywhere in the Caribbean it is blooming. We're going to say we're flying the flag now, it is our time, and we're going to move forward. So we're developing community-based niche tourism products. Under community tourism, which is a mindset change, community-based tourism is now in force. I need to let you know that community tourism involves large players and small players and everyone. It is not a niche market. Community tourism is not a niche market. Community-based tourism is where we have the niche markets. So the community tourism is a mindset change that everyone is involved. So today we're going to explore the concept, the role, the benefits, the market, linkage opportunities, the experiences, best practices, and the way forward, where you're going to have some group activity to assist you in being able to define your way forward in Anguilla, which we are here to give you support on. So with the concept now, we have authentic community-based experiences targeted to the international and local markets, which is developed and directed, driven by and for the sustainable development of the host community and its residents. You notice the word host, very important word. We are promoting people to be hosts. We're not trying to set up communities as tourism attractions. We're saying that we wish to have them be a host to welcome people, but it's not set up for visitors. It's for themselves first, and then visitors come in. So the concept, the core principles, cultural, authentic, community participation and benefit, the protection of the environment, very important, because we have people who are coming and they're very environmental conscious, very health conscious, and they see everything, trust me. Somebody is selling on the roadside, or like in my own country I've had beyond this case, you cannot be collecting cash and selling food at the same time. So we have to do training to make them understand that. Integrated with local industries and businesses, we are promoting businesses, and you'll see in a little while what that means through our Villages and Businesses program. So the role, building participation in tourism, products and experiences developed by and for the community, direct foreign exchange earning opportunity, enables direct access to international market, and builds community brand and civic pride. This is, to me, the best part of the whole thing. The fact that the communities all of a sudden recognize that they're no longer just there at Guam, as we say in Jamaica, but they are now something special, that what they have to offer is something that people want to experience, and they begin to look at their community in a different way and even hold their heads up and walk with pride and be able to present themselves. So the benefits, the access to international markets, boost local businesses through access to the market. So whatever businesses that are in the community, people are interested in seeing those businesses, and when you have that happen, you have an export industry emerge, because the biggest market we have is the Caribbean diaspora, who are anxious to get all our products and services, and that to me is the greatest part of it, knowing that we can make that happen. So you're not just sitting down waiting for a tour, you're actually creating business opportunities. And you have direct foreign exchange earnings, not just from tours, but from buying products from the communities. Local employment and entrepreneurship. Our focus is on entrepreneurship. A lot of people don't know the meaning of the word entrepreneur. When you ask the average person in my country, they say, oh, it's somebody who owns their own business. It's not only that, it's much more than that. An entrepreneur means a risk taker, an adventurer, person who is willing to fail 100 times, rush off, and still proceed to do more business and go another route. This has to be explained carefully to the communities, because many of them do not understand that, and it's important. So they don't think that everything is going to happen overnight. Maybe you try this way, it doesn't work. That doesn't mean you give up. You still keep going as an entrepreneur. Potential development of export market for local goods, which I've told you. Building up pride, we mentioned that, unveiling research and knowledge of the community. They cannot have people in a business, which is the community, and they don't know their product. They have to learn who they are, what they're about, where their heritage from. The church that they will pass by normally and say, sure, that's just an old thing, colonial thing, they should have shut that down a long time. That is the attitude. But then when they recognize that it has value, and economic value, then they don't think that way anymore. Sustaining heritage and culture, making sure that grandma keeps doing the old time way of making coffee, not saying you must go and get a percolator because it has value. So all the old time, as we say in Jamaica, all the old time same thing is important. Very important for us to value. Sustaining natural environment, not cutting down the trees, not destroying what is beautiful about us just because you want to build some concrete jungle there. We have to analyze, we have to assess, because people notice that. And it limits road push, funds and volunteers for social development and cross-cultural sharing. So the benefits lie not only in the outcome, but also in the process. So the market is based on special interests. Special interest marketing is exciting. Not many people know how to do that. You go direct to the consumer, mainly, because you have many, many clubs out there. You know, we have the graveyard tourism and so on, which I'll talk to you about later. But it's an exciting field to get into, especially in this market. The people who are coming are educated, they are interested, they have money. Community-based tourism is not necessarily people who are on a what we call low income or low rate business. They want to pay whatever it's worth because they want the community to benefit. Seeking escape from mass traditional tours. Many people are getting turned off from this because they're saying that this is set up for tourists, and they don't want that. They want the lifestyle of the people, and to have them experience as authentic. Responsible travelers are social and environmental conscious, non-traditional challenge, book direct. We call that out of the box thinking, boxes entrepreneurship, not going the usual way, being creative in marketing. So the linkages we have agriculture, we have farm to table cuisine experiences. I don't know if you do that here, but we have that as a major attraction in Jamaica, where visitors come on the farm, they pick what they want and it's cooked, and they eat it right on the farm. So we call it farm to table cuisine experience.